Jagex is revealing 2023's upcoming content in a unique way with puzzles that include clues, and this news post being updated, presumably every single day until next Monday when all of the content will be revealed. The first clue could be solved using the Guthix runes as letters, which are used in some quests, and I just wanted to say, as a spacebar warrior, I was kind of proud that I could solve this puzzle. You know, it may not seem like much, but as a spacebar warrior, I'm proud. Not really. Now, this clue said there are only two things certain in life which you may be able to guess are death and taxes, and today's news post provides us a first look into both the Death Cost rework and the Grand Exchange tax. Let's talk about it. So whenever you're ready, grab your cup of tea, sit back, relax, and enjoy. For RuneScape guides, content, and news, be sure to subscribe. So what's going to happen to Death Cost? Well, first of all, Death Cost will be nerfed or reduced by about 80% or more, as the reclaim cost will be 0.1% of the item's value, with a minimum reclaim cost of 100 coins per stack of items. Items will no longer be lost and can be reclaimed even after a double death due to a so-called overflow inventory. That on its own is already a very important change, as players sometimes have a double death due to death bugs related to a new boss release or something else. The item sacrifice system, which I can't imagine very many people have used, will also be removed, which, if you don't know what it was, allowed you to sacrifice items to reduce the total amount of coins you needed to spend to reclaim your items. The post also shares a max reclaim cost of 2.147 billion GP, and at 0.1%, that means, assuming this is a single item, that the maximum amount of GP an item can cost in the Grand Exchange following this update will be 2.147 billion times 1,000, aka 2.1 trillion GP. Now, even though an 80% reduction is huge, I still feel like high-level players, or just, players with a lot of expensive gear, will be smacked in the face with high death costs regardless of this change, even though they will be lower, because items that cost max cash or more will still cost you 2 million or more in death costs. Tier 95 weapons cost way over max cash and will cost you more than just 2 million GP per death, which will result in either painful death costs or you camping that ring of death. Your death cost could still be 6, 7, 8 million GP if you're Bridding. You're already paying a price by dying and missing out on your loot. Why does it still have to be over 1 million GP per death cost if you're using expensive gear? Speaking of the Ring of Death, this teaser doesn't share all the information about the Death Cost rework, and I'm curious to see what will happen to that ring, because the effect will be changed. If it no longer provides free deaths at the cost of Onyx charges, PVMing will arguably get worse for people using high-level setups after this update compared to now, where they would be camping the Ring of Death. Now, I'm aware that that is a cherry-picked example of how it could be worse, and for the most part, it is a good change, but those players will be spending more on deaths after the update if they can't use something like the Ring of Death for free deaths using Onyx Charge. I think that's a relevant point to bring up, and it's something I hope to see answered in the full blog post about the rework we will be getting in a couple of weeks from now, as this is, after all, just a sneak peek. Now, according to this news post, 62% of all gold removed from the game comes from death costs. For that reason, Jagex is going to implement a 2% G tax on all items sold. This means the seller will get 2% less GP when collecting from the Grand Exchange. Interestingly, this isn't the percentage that was mentioned in the Let's Chat with Mod Jack and Mod Sponge a few months ago.
So every successful GE trade will essentially destroy 1% of the gold.
1%, just
1%.
across the board,
flat
flat
1%.
setting.
I wonder what changed them to double the Grand Exchange tax. Perhaps there's more going on behind the scenes than we might think. I think the Grand Exchange tax is a good way of countering inflation in RuneScape, and if it's 1 or 2%, at the end of the day won't matter that much for us players. I reckon prices will adjust accordingly and players will get used to the GE tax within 1 or 2 months. But feel free to disagree with me down in the comments below. That's what the comment section is for, after all. Psst. Don't forget to